Ben Shalom wants to make a fight between Amir Khan and Florian Marku. He says it makes sense for both parties. Well, it certainly makes sense for Marku. Marku is a big star in his native Albania. He came from an MMA and kickboxing background, I believe, just a few years ago. And since that time, he's established himself in boxing in the UK and in Albania very quickly. So you have to give Florian Marku credit for that, and the people that train him and work with him credit for that. He's looking to step up to the next level, not just in terms of competition, but of course in terms of paydays, prestige, and so on. So Amir Khan fits the bill for him. This is a guy who, was at the top of the game in terms of winning world championships at 140 pounds, fought in unifications and so on. Did he fight in? I think, yeah, because the Danny Garcia fight was unification, wasn't it? So yeah, Amir Khan's been there, seen it, and done it. Fought Marcus Maidana, of course, and many other fights, Canelo Alvarez. This is a guy who looks shot at this point, who looks certainly at the end of his career, but he's still a marquee name. He's coming off a big fight against Kell Brook. So yeah, it makes perfect sense for Florian Marku to want to go in there against Amir Khan. It catapults Marku to a whole new level. And I think Shalom's talked about potentially doing that fight in Albania, which would be absolutely huge over there. So yeah, it makes sense for him. But does it make sense for Amir Khan to be fighting a Florian Marku? In my view, it doesn't. Now, I think the reason that Ben Shalom is saying it makes sense for Amir Khan is because he doesn't see why Khan should be given the opportunity to fight Kell Brook again, given how one-sided their fight was. Now, Khan may have triggered the rematch clause for the Kell Brook fight, but if a broadcaster is unwilling to put the fight on, then that kind of invalidates the contract. Obviously, I haven't seen the contract. I don't know what it says with regards to the broadcasters. Is there some type of provision in there that says the broadcaster must put the fight on, or or any particular broadcaster must put the fight on, or not? I have to assume not, because we heard all this talk about Khan triggering the rematch clause, but then nothing's happening because, again, Sky, even Eddie Hearn with DAZN, don't seem willing to actually broadcast that rematch. They don't feel like it's viable financially or whatever. They don't think the fans would really go for it, given how one-sided the first fight was. So anyway, with all that aside, Khan is looking to have another fight on that level, right? Kell Brook or somebody like that, somebody who's at least been a world champion. He's not looking to go in there and risk even further humiliation, risk an even bigger, how can I describe it, blip or mark on his record than he had against Kell Brook. He said he was going to go in there and wipe Kell Brook out and take him out of boxing and all this kind of, the usual trash talk that many fighters come up with before fights. But he really wanted to go in there and establish himself as the king of the UK at 147 pounds. That's the reason that he avoided the Brook fight for so many years, is he was afraid of losing that mantle. Now he has lost that mantle officially. I mean, many people feel like he lost that mantle unofficially a long time ago, but officially he's lost that mantle now to Kell Brook. So Khan is thinking of revenge against Brook. He's not thinking of the Florian Markus of the world. They would have to come up with, in my estimation, a crazy number to make Amir Khan want to get in there against Florian Marku in Albania. Khan would be going into the lion's den in Albania. He wouldn't be having the support that he enjoyed for the Kell Brook fight, where it was a mostly pro Amir Khan crowd. In Albania, they're all going to be against him. Do you know what I mean? This is a guy who fought Billy Dib in Saudi Arabia in a total mismatch for multi-millions. Is he really going to go to Albania against the dangerous, hungry Florian Marku for anything less than a crazy purse? Maybe he will, but I suspect he won't, because, again, Khan is looking for a way to redeem himself, a way to reestablish himself as the top welterweight in the UK before, I assume, he then retires. So let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. Now, if the fight were to happen between Amir Khan and Florian Marku, I would actually pick Florian Marku to win. I think that Amir Khan's prime is long, long, long gone. I'm sure all of you agree with that. if we had a prime Khan, the one who beat Marcus Maidana, surely you'd pick him over Florian Marku. Is Florian Marku a better, more effective pressure fighter than Marcus Maidana? Does he hit harder than Maidana? I don't think so. And there are other fighters that Khan's beaten in his career who you could say are better than Marku, even at pressuring. So if it's a prime Khan, I'm picking him over Marku. But this is not a prime Khan anymore. Khan's always been chinny, but now he doesn't have the reflexes either. He's even more vulnerable than he's ever been. Not as fast as he used to be back in the days. I think this is a great fight for Marku and not a great fight for Amir Khan. And so, look, if Khan was able to go in there and win, then he can say, hey, give me that Kell Brook rematch. I get that aspect of it. But from my perspective, I don't think he's going to go in there and win. Do you know what I mean? Especially not in Albania. I don't think so. A good fight for Amir Khan would be, I don't know, retirement. Right? And that would be a fight because a lot of fighters struggle to, find themselves after they retire. They don't know what to do with themselves once they retire. They're scrambling around and doing this and that, and they just feel lost. They miss the adulation of the crowd. They miss the adrenaline. They miss the fighting, etc., etc. They don't know what to do. So that's a fight in itself. But I think that should be the next fight for Khan. I think Khan should retire. There was nothing I saw in that Brook fight to lead me to believe that Khan is anything other than shot at this stage. I know he says he was injured or whatever. Fighters always say that stuff. Khan has, as I've spoken about before, a glass is half full mentality. He is an insufferable optimist. And of course, it's led to him being very successful in his life and in his career. But a point comes where the body can no longer live up to the ego, to the expectations and the belief of the ego. And that's where Khan's at right now. So yes, he came back from devastating knockout defeats, and you have to applaud him for that because a lot of people wrote him off even then, but he was a young man then. If the mind is able to overcome, the body, when you're a young man, is still there. It can still work for you. It can still serve you very well. But at the age Khan is at now, and with the punishment he's taken, see, people think about punishment. Sometimes they'll look at a fighter's face. Does his face look beaten up? Well, that doesn't always tell the full story. A lot of the punishment is internal. A lot of the punishment is actually neurological. Fighters end up with what they call punch-drunk syndrome, CTE, etc. And the effects often don't show up until much later on in life. Not immediately after they retire, but much later on. And when I say the effects, I'm talking about the full effects with the slurred speech and confusion and all this kind of stuff, Parkinson's syndrome, etc. So Khan has taken a lot of punishment in his career. He's been knocked out badly on a number of occasions. That is going to impact on you neurologically. You're not going to be the same. When you've been through those experiences, your body's not going to be able to react the same. If Khan had never taken all that punishment, he'd probably have more miles left in his career right now. If he hadn't taken so much punishment and hadn't suffered all those knockout defeats, he'd probably still have maybe a year or two more, couple years more. But because he has taken that punishment, it shortens your career. It puts miles on the clock. You see it? So that's my take on it. I understand where Ben Shalom is coming from, but I think that it's only going to go downhill again, even more, if Khan fights Florian Marku. I don't see that as a road to redemption. I see that as a road to damnation. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Perhaps you disagree. Let me know. If you're tired of the biased narratives and mass censorship on mainstream platforms, and you want to be part of a community of critical thinkers who love free speech just as much as you do, then come and join me on Patreon and access my weekly no-holds-barred, censorship-free podcast where we lift the lid on a wide variety of controversial topics. It's not mainstream friendly. It's not politically correct, but that's the whole point. We dare to stand as a beacon of reason against an army of insanity. Just head on over to my Patreon page and select the tier called Hatman Hot Topics. You'll gain access to a minimum of 2 hours of exclusive content every single week, including podcasts, videos, interviews, live stream Q&As, as well as my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. Not to mention a vast back catalog of hundreds of hours of previous episodes. You can listen via the Patreon app, with the option to download in high quality MP3. We've also got an Element group where you can come and chat and hang out with myself and other members. Unlike Discord, it has full end-to-end encryption, it's decentralized, and it's 100% censorship free. You can also send voice notes as well as much larger audio and video files than you can on Discord. So come and sign up on Patreon. There's no contract, there's no commitment, you can cancel at any time, and it's cheaper than a cup of coffee. So I'll see you over there. I'm out.